I'd like to call the meeting back to order. Everybody here? Ms. Jones, you ready? Okay, ma'am, public comments on this issue of the Denley settlement.
I'm Lindley DeVille, 15-year resident of Mount Dora. I live at 8021 Covey Circle. Mr. Crail stated that he had had no personal affiliation with Medallion Homes. I would like to respectfully ask the rest of council members to go on record as to any bias as relating to Medallion Homes.
Thank you for your comment.
None from me.
This is something we wouldn't be answering on this thing, so it's, you know, we're all city council people, and we all know what our restrictions are, what we're allowed to vote on, what we're not allowed to vote on. We've all taken the ethics courses and the conflict of interest courses that we have to do. So,
That's a no.
we're not going to answer that question now. We're going to just do our votes the way we normally do. Thank you. Name, address, and 3 minutes, please.
I know the drill.
Thank you.
Sorry, I broke one of my braces, so I'm a little bit
That's fine. That's fine.
First of all, ma'am, if you're asking if they can recuse themselves, I believe they can't. I think that was settled once before, that they can't say they can't not vote and recuse themselves, because that's part of their requirements. In regards to this discussion, a couple of things just as data. To a great degree, we should be making an economic decision rather than a pride decision. Medallion has proposed to our community at a recent point in time to build anywhere between 10 to 12 to 16 homes on the properties in discussion, the well site and the fire station lot. Last year, Medallion sold houses at an average of $316,000. This year, the most recent year, they've been averaging $365,000. That $365,000 was driven by selling a lot of houses on waterfront lots. There is some waterfront property available within those two sites, so I would say split the difference and say roughly $340,000, $325,000 is the average revenue the city could look at as taxable property. Whatever percentage of that is, you do the math. That is the revenue stream the city could stand to accrue by resolving this property. The city could gain no revenue from this property, as Ms. Sutton pointed out when she kind of made here's the reality, folks. You can't sell it, you can't rent it, you can't mortgage it. The reality is all you got is rights to it, and that's it. That was a reality check, you know. Could we have had a better deal? Yeah, back in 2014, council made a wrong-headed decision, and I'll say it was a politically motivated decision because Mr. Baroof had contributed to some council people that were running for council, candidates, and those council members perhaps had their judgment colored by, I'm not giving it. It was also stated that the community didn't need any more lots. Well, if you're averaging $340,000 a year $340,000 in property value, that's better than the average of what the community is getting in the city of Mount Dora, and that's nice taxable revenue encapsulated in the area that doesn't drive school stuff. Okay. I think we need to get beyond the concept of principle. It's a lousy deal. It's a lousy deal, I admit it. But it's the wrong place to have a fire station and move on from that. We could have had $250,000 that the fire chief could have used for bunker gear. We don't have it. The best place for a fire station is over in the industrial park area. It's more centrally located. I think we need to get past principle, and that's what we're fighting over a little bit. I think it's principle and pride, as opposed to the fact that dollars and cents, and that's all we got left. Unless the insurance company's going to start charging us more money if we have a claim and they have to pay for it, and our litigation goes up. That's happened when you have a car, when you crack up your car. You incur money. So my thought is, I agree with your principle, Mr. Crail. I respect you. but we're gonna die on the hill and got nothing left. We haven't had a chance to take the hill, we don't have a chance to take the land. I think we should move on. I don't like the deal, I don't like Medallion. I wish Medallion would be out of here last week. But it is what it is, and I think we should just, I agree with Mr. Rolfson's suggestion that this is not a legally correct document that we presented. If we can trust our attorney, then we're done. Sorry man, my son's an attorney also.
I fully trust you.
Okay? I think we should just look at it as the faster we can resolve this thing, the faster this council can focus its time and the citizens' time on a productive event as opposed to one that all we're doing is wasting oxygen that I talked about earlier. Thank you.
You did.
Anybody else wish to come? Well, Mr. Masterson,
Yes.
while you have your problem there, anytime that when you come to want to talk, somebody can bring a microphone over to you, and you can sit at your chair. And I apologize for not offering that to you tonight. I offered to Mr. Gillespie also when he's here, but
Not a problem, I thank you for the courtesy. Actually, I broke my carbon fiber graphite brace yesterday cutting the grass. These things are supposed to break after a year. I got another one on order.
I've got one of those things in my hips.
Yeah.
good
Well,
luck.
it wasn't hard, but thank you for the offer, but I'm usually pretty good without it.
Okay. If you need to, just
Yep,
ask
I'm good.
and we'll have to take care of it. Thank you.
It's all right, I got my stick to sit on.
Okay. Anybody else wish to address the council on this matter? Seeing none. And back to council, any more comments? Mr. Creel?
Just, I'm going to vote no, but it's not for lack of trust of our staff people or our insurance company's attorney. I just, for the life of me, can't figure out what waiting a couple weeks so that Medallion can deliver and our council can review the legal descriptions. I don't see that as a unreasonable thing.
And I've read legal, or I've seen legal descriptions of property before, and I really don't fully understand them, so I'm going to trust our legal team and our city staff to read them accurately and give us, come back to us if they do not feel that this piece of property is adequately or described so that the city is protected. So I guess I'm going to disagree with you on that point. So I just.
Any other comments?
And like the mayor said, if it's not adequate, doesn't meet the requirement, it's not being signed.
Okay, have a roll call.
Oh, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sagan.
Thank you.
It's your hand.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that I'm going to vote in support of the settlement because I believe that we're negotiating with somebody who is not going to negotiate, and I believe that it is a binary choice. That it's we're either going to win the case or we're going to lose the case. And when I do the calculus, when we win, I don't see a great win. And when I see a loss, I see that loss exceeds here. So that is where I come from on the calculation. It's a crap sandwich, and I'm going to vote yes for it.
We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Roulette,
Yes.
Ms. Tillett,
Yes.
Mr. Slavy,
Yes.
Mr. Rolfson,
No.
Mr. Crail,
No.
Mayor Jerome.
Yes. And you got your mark orders on that. Thank you very much for your time and effort and
Thank you.
that you put in on this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a city manager's update, and this is a, Go ahead, that is, it's under the city manager's update. You're fine, that's good. City manager, this stays.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Council. Excuse me again. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Last year in November, a resolution 2015-31 was presented to council and adopted in reference to Sylvan Shores street lighting. That resolution would take effect November 1st of this year, which we would essentially cut the lighting in that area off. It was on the premise that the organization out there of homes, they're not an HOA, but that the homes would actually have a spokesman present to the county a request for an MSBU. That has started, the process has started, but it's just taken a little bit of time for a homeowner in that area to step up to the plate. I would like to propose that we postpone the enactment of that resolution for 1 year or sometime in the future. If you're not comfortable with November 1st of 2017, that at least we allow those homeowners to at least work with the county. We can work with the county if needed on anything, and with legal to adjust anything that may need to be adjusted based on the resolution that was adopted last year. But if we go ahead and cut the lighting on November 1st, we have in some ways adjusted those homeowners to a new way of living in the dark, so to speak, on the street lights. And I'm not sure that that was the intent based on reading the resolution of this council. The intent was for them to proceed to look for alternative sources of being able to pay for that lighting because they are not part of the city. So they are paying a surcharge for their water bill and so forth. So we're asking that they, in the future, go and pay a surcharge for their electric, but through the county, through an MSBU, excuse me. So I'd like to propose that we postpone it until November of 2017. In the meantime, if something else arises, I'll be glad to bring back a report to council and present a new date and time.
Mayor, I support doing that. We certainly can't keep Sylvan Shores in the dark. I'm a little concerned about, I think what needs to be, what they need to have is a hard and fast deadline that forces them to do this, because without that, they're going to sit there forever and have free lighting. You know, that's going to happen. So I'm not sure, I trust our manager's judgment for sure, but 1 year seems to be maybe a little long. If we could do it in piecemeals, half a year, put their feet to the ground, we need to extend it again. I shouldn't even say that because they read public records, but just some incentive to have them get moving on it.
And they are moving on it. My understanding from the county, from Mr. Heath, the county manager, this process does take sometimes up to a year. That's the reason I asked for that. They began the process in August, so I'm sure that they're just in the beginning phases of it. So I think November is a doable time frame to keep it in line with what you approved last year.
I move approval.
I'll second that with the, I was going to say, with the caveat that's it, you know, that we expect to continue to see progress, but.
You won't need a caveat on it, but the issue, and there will be, and Ms. Hayes alluded to it, there will be ongoing negotiations with the county and the county commissioners, the county manager, and the attorneys, and to get a settlement and get this and what is that called again, please?
MSBU.
MSBU done as quickly as possible, and maybe there might be other alternatives that might be brought up in the interim that'll be beneficial for all parties concerned. So I think
makes sense.
We're on the right track with this. And I think the other, like you said, the other alternative is they're going to be in the dark, and I don't think it's the intent of this council to put any neighborhood in an unsafe environment. So, and can we have motion second? Anybody from Ms. Slavy, you?
I just had a couple of questions. I really like the idea of keeping your feet to the fire, so to speak. I mean, could we do 6 months and then comes back to us again in 6 months so that we see the progress is coming along?
Can I?
May I respond?
Sorry.
I think that's a good idea. However, that then they know they can push us again. I'd rather go along with Ms. Tony's compromise. It's 1 year and that's it, and you're in the dark after that. Because I trust the judgment here that it's something that's gonna take the county some time to put together, but it'll be done, I hope.
I'm good.
And I'm okay with giving a report to council in 6 months. I can reach out to the county manager and then reach back to the council, maybe even in less time that we're further along in the process than we believe. But I'm not, opposed to giving a report to council in 6 months.
Just as long as it goes quicker than the paving.
I support the 1 year, but I do think it's incumbent now on the county to make this happen. If this is a year process and it started in August, by August of 2017, it ought to be coming to a close. Otherwise, they're keeping Sylvan Shores residents in the dark because we have extended for 2 years. Last year and now 1 more year, and that's enough.
Yes, sir.
Put up your street sign, the one that you were gonna use for Fifth
I-
Avenue.
I've got it ready, but now we have a date, so I don't
This
think
dark
Mr.
was
Robson and I'll
brought-
have to go out there at night and do that.
If we do, let me.
I'm sorry.
Anybody from the
And
public
Mr.
wish to
Rowell,
address?
maybe 3 of us.
Anybody from the public wish to address this issue? Seeing none, Ms. Johnson, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Robson?
Yes.
Ms. Tillett?
Yes.
Mr. Slavy?
Yes.
Mr. Creel?
Yes.
Mr. Roulette?
Yes.
Mayor Jerome?
Yes. Anything else?
Thank you, council.
Thank you. Mr. Groot, city attorney's report.
I have nothing for the good of the order this evening.
We have to give you something to report. Figure out something here for you. Okay, then we're gonna go to communications and reports, and if you notice, there's an order on the agenda tonight, thanks to Ms. Johns, thank you very much. And so, first on that order is Vice Mayor Roulette. If you have any comments or?
Well, the only comment I have is when Hurricane Matthew approached, I was there out in it before, in the middle, and afterwards, and I can't compliment the city enough on their efforts from start to finish. I mean, they were all over the place during this process, and they kept up with the limbs and everything. They were falling in the street, they were riding around in the trucks picking up, and I compliment everybody from top to bottom, bottom to top. Very good job.
And Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. I'll echo what Mr. Roulette said. I just think our manager is here, brand new, and gets hit with Hurricane Matthew. And my compliments to you, Ms. Hayes, and to all the city that worked so hard, directors and the staff all the way down. We don't have that many here. Charles must have been busy with electrical issues, and everybody did a wonderful job. Our fire department, our police department, all flag waving stuff, Mr. Slavy. And so I'm really delighted with that and feel very proud as a council member. Number 2, there has been advertised, and I think we all received it, University of Central Florida, Florida Institute of Government has a social media policy workshop that is coming, and my suggestion, maybe mayor and manager, is somebody, one of us or the manager or somebody should attend that. I wasn't scared, I don't usually succumb to that, but there are some issues there on social media that the policies we have should be looked at, and it might be worth a day of some staff to you direct to go to that. It looked really good, $140 or whatever the fee was. It's certainly reasonable to get from an attorney and a master's degree or something that knows this for a living, does this for a living. I'd recommend somehow sending somebody, maybe a council member, preferably a manager type person, maybe our media person. At any rate, just back on comment. I want to commend him, I think he's gone, David Kohei's gone, but I was impressed with all of his work to try to deal with the heritage of Mount Dora and that church that, where we enter Mount Dora from the east side. It was a well done, he's done a lot of work on that, and I commend him for that, and we have done that. I want to compliment the Mount Dora Trust, who distributed, I think, nearly $24,000 to the city, to various aspects of the city. I got that report, and compliments to them for doing that. They provide a great service to us. I want to thank the mayor. When Hurricane Matthew occurred, it was appropriate to send thanks, official thanks, from our mayor and the council to those that did so well. And I want to thank the mayor for including the entire city council on that. I certainly appreciated that, and I know all council members wanted to join him in doing that. Verbal and written thanks to our employees and our staff for their good work. And with that, I have nothing more to say, surprisingly. Thank you very much. Oh, I have one question though. Were we going to deal with the fair coming up and the
That's the next agenda.
I've got, that's right, you're right.
That's the
Blew it
next
up, I'm sorry.
agenda.
Right over my head. That's all I have.
Mr. Slavy.
Thank you. I just want to echo the points about Matthew and extend to our city manager thanks and personally an appreciation of not just everything that got done, but the speed and the ethos of, I just felt like everyone that was involved from the city standpoint was, this is our town and it's going to look good in a couple of days because we got a bike festival going on and we got, it's like we got guests coming over and the town was in great shape. I've lived through other hurricanes and it was, hurricane city for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. But there was a real effort to do that and I really appreciate that. So thank you. That's all I had.
Well, at the risk of being repetitive, I'm going to add my 2 cents to all of the kudos, and especially how fast everything got done, and with such good humor. People were just more than willing to step up and help. The only other thing that I have is to sort of on this same Florida League of Cities email blast that they send out, that there is a webinar, I believe it's on Thursday, it's on the 20th, on the interaction between developers and council and how to avoid some common pitfalls, and that might be, you can learn from the comfort of your home, and all you have to do is just sign up for the webinar, and then it's a dial-in and it's free. So if anybody wants to take advantage of that, I'd encourage them to do so, and that's all I have this time.
Mr. Brown.
Just add my thanks to the city staff, manager, and everyone else for a great job during the storm and everything. And also to thank my colleagues on city council. I think this was a good decision tonight, a good process to making a decision tonight, and I certainly respect all of the comments and that were made, and I hope this medallion lawsuit resolution can turn out as well as possible. But good discussion, good process. There's seldom a 100% right answer and a 100% wrong answer. It's almost always somewhere in the middle, and I appreciate your everybody's comments and so on. Thanks.
Okay, well, thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for the comments tonight. Appreciate that very much. And I know prior to the You know, to the hurricane and everything, the last meeting I had made a comment I was gonna be heading to Kentucky, won't be around, and I was gonna be in Kentucky on a bourbon tour. And unfortunately, you know, with hurricane and everything, I made a decision to postpone that, and so I can be here available. And I'll tell you what, I was really glad I made that decision to do that, and because I got to see a city in action and a crew of people in action, and that I probably wouldn't have seen otherwise, naturally, if I wasn't here for something like that. I've seen some other things in the past, but being part of the process, seeing the process going on and unfolding, and seeing how everybody, our staff and the department heads, how trained they are, and how everybody just comes in, does their job. And also kudos to our new city manager, Robin Hayes. She took charge of something relatively new here, took charge like a pro, let me tell you. And I've seen some different things in my life, and I've been involved in some different things, and I'm gonna tell you what, she stepped up to the plate, did a great job. And but I think that one advantage I had over the staff, they were all crammed into the police station on a sleepover, and you know, to be part of everything. And I got a chance at least to go home and for a while. And but it was really, and I can just imagine what was going on that night, and I'm glad I wasn't there. I'm gonna put it that way. And so it was great. It was just it was a great event, and everything just went you know, tremendous for everything. And what was nice, we were preparing for the worst, and which you should do. And the worst was 70-mile-an-hour winds. And I saw a small loquat tree in my yard go down with a 30-mile-an-hour wind. Okay, that was where the ground underneath was totally saturated. And I can imagine what this city would have happened in the city with 70-mile-an-hour winds if the initial predictions would have gone through. And it don't sound like much, a 70-mile-an-hour breeze that goes through, fine. But when you start talking, you know, maybe 6, 7, 8 hours of a 70-mile-an-hour breeze, it's a windstorm. It's quite different. And to give, you know, and again, for her, kudos again to her. Her home was right, the eye was going over her home, and she stayed here that night to be here with us. And so I give you a lot of that to be here. But fortunately for her, the hurricane did go out to sea a little bit, that 20 miles, whatever it was, a little bit of a jog, saved her property, saved our properties here in the city. So you know, we had, like I put in the little memo, we had some divine intervention for that, and so hopefully, if anything else happens again, we'll still have that good divine intervention, and because I think somebody up there does not want to mess with someplace special. Anyway, that's all I have for tonight. Did you want to make another comment?
Yes, I wanted to say that the staff pulled together the microburst that happened a few weeks before the hurricane, which I'm sure a lot of you recall. We had the advantage, and I say we, the Public Safety Division, public safety in the sense of police and fire, and Public Works had all pulled together through that process. It established some good guidelines, so I really want to say thank you to the department directors, to the managers, and especially all the field people that were out there, and they were out there during the whole process, taking care of the citizens, and with smiles on their face. You would be so impressed with them. And I'd also like to extend a thank you to First Baptist Church, that they supported us. They allowed us to stage our equipment there. They allowed our employees to go in there and stay and rest and be prepared. That was based on a contingent plan that several of the Public Works Department directors and managers have put together, and it was very effective this time. So we learned a lot. We appreciate it. It was a good experience for us, and I'm glad it was no more danger, no more damage than what we all went through, and we're very fortunate. But I'd also like to say, again, I'm from the home state of North Carolina, so please keep those folks in your thoughts and prayers. I saw a family that haven't returned home yet. So, and they don't know what their home's like, but that's just one person. So I'm sure there are a lot of others that are in the same situation. So keep those folks in your prayers, if you will, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion for adjournment?
So moved. Second.
For adjournment. Thank you very much.
CRA? CRA.
Wait, we have one other.
Adjourn from that, then we'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're adjourned from that meeting, but we have to open up a CRA meeting. Nobody forgot about that, sorry.
We can be quick.
We don't need any, going to be called to order, so we're going to call to order the Community Redevelopment Agency Board, October 18th, and the time is, that's 8:40. Okay. And we have first item on the agenda is approval of minutes from the approval of CRA board minutes dated October 4th, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Discussion items is downtown parking pilot program. And Ms. Hayes.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Thank you, Mayor, council members. We have established a program, and as I mentioned before, it's a pilot program that we believe will be the beginning phase of future alleviation of some of the parking. So we have worked with some of the private owners of some of the parking lots in the area, as well as the businesses, and we've been able to put together a shuttle program, we're going to call it. We have golf carts arranged to come into the city, and we've created approximately 7 different zones in which we can pick up citizens and visitors to the city for the craft festival that's coming up this weekend. And what we'd like to talk to you about is the fact that during this process we have met with the Chris Carson's with the Parks and Recs Division. I've met with the police department. We've gone through the route from that perspective. We've met with our HR department, looked at insurance and that type of information as far as making sure that we've covered everything. We have volunteers who have signed up to drive the golf carts. We have attendants that are also volunteers at about approximately 6 stops in which we'll have someone seated in that area to give information out to the visitors, to give them a site map, to give them an idea of the time that we plan on running the golf carts from approximately 8 till about 6:30 in the evening. That's to account for picking up and delivering some of the merchants and the workers in the area into their shops or to their areas, as well as taking them back in the evening. We're also working on a van to kind of pick up later in the evening for some of those restaurants that may actually be here a little bit later. And we're going to talk to some of the merchants in this respect if they can allow some of their employees to go pick their cars up from the sites where they may be parked in an outlying area and bring their cars in closer. So we're working that little piece out. Still undefined on that part of it, but we will finish that up tomorrow. We would like to request permission to, along the bike trail from Tremaine to Lincoln, to be able to use the trail as a golf cart trail. And I know in the past that's been signed off by city administration. But I just wanted to bring that forward, that's something we would like to request in this process. We're working on some one-way streets, like on Tremaine and some of the other streets. And Mr. Sandofield could give you a little more information on those routes. But we're working very closely with the entire staff to make sure that this event is safe and secure, that we've looked at all the possibilities that we can look at. We have spoken with HR in the sense that the volunteers are part of our policy umbrella, so as long as they're acting as part of the city, they're covered under that umbrella. So that's taken care of. We have a coordinator from Public Works who will coordinate the entire event via radios, work with all the attendants in each of the areas that we've specified as a stop. We've designated 2 drop-off points in which we'll hand out maps to those visitors who choose to ride with us. And we also have a survey so that we can receive some feedback as to either it worked great, it didn't work, whatever it might be. It's a start. It is only a start, and we expect to expound upon it in the future, but we need some feedback. We need to see if it even works. We will have one van, a 12-passenger van, which we're trying to also put into play to go out to the McDonald's out on 441, the Sandy Sandy Ridge area, so that we can pick up a few more people at one time. The carts at this point are 6-passenger carts, so they're not as large as we had hoped for, but that's all we could rent at this point in time. So I'll entertain any questions for you and be glad to answer those, and hope I haven't left anything out for you.
Okay, this is, I think this is a wonderful idea, and I'm glad to see it starting. I think some people may have, and I did at first like, wow, we're really just sort of going all out, but I think this will help us by sort of going all out for the craft fair. We'll get our feet wet and see where these parking areas are, what may or may not work for a regular basis. And I just had a few thoughts that on a regular weekend, you know, like if this is going to be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday type of thing all year long, which I hope it will morph into, parking up at the Frank Brown Sports Complex is not exactly where I would feel very comfortable leaving my vehicle while I was downtown for the day. But I think I think we're going to start big and then maybe contract down to a smaller area for regular weekends. My other comment is I'd still like to see an implementation plan that takes all of the doable alternatives, the doable things that were outlined in the parking study for the short term in a list and even a timeline. I know that the shuttle alternative was stuck into the midterm. I've always felt that should also be a short-term solution because that just helps people park on the outskirts. And I think we need a lot more communication with the merchants downtown, possibly even designating a parking lot for them. I'm not sure whether that's been considered for the craft fair itself or whether that's being considered for the ongoing kind of pilot study. So I've got the parking areas are out. And I think that's it. I think it's great. I've volunteered to be a driver. I can't wait to see how this works. It's got to be better than what we have now. But I also, not so much for the craft fair because there won't be any parking downtown. You know, I mean the streets are closed off. But for the follow-on, I know that there were some solutions that had been discussed, such as going to 3-hour parking and on Donnelly and maybe one or two of the inner core cross streets and all of that. I just sort of like to see which of the alternatives and ideas can all be sort of done at once. I know there's a lot of pieces to put into this puzzle, and I think it'll come in chunks. But I just want to see the chunks in a timeline.
I totally support doing this for the merchants, for the attendees at the fair, for our citizens in general. It's just a good idea, and I think it dovetails in to the parking study, at least partially, to try to work that out and flush it out over the months afterwards. I imagine you, Ms. Hayes, will keep careful notes about ideas about, oops, we won't do this again, or yes, we will again, and keep track of that. That'll be very important, and I know you'll do that. Regarding drivers, I'm just going to mention some comments. I just ask you to think about them. I don't need answers tonight. I don't know if there are any, and you maybe have them, but I was very pleased to hear you say that the umbrella covers volunteers, our umbrella policy. If that's just an oral comment from an agent, then I would be concerned. But if it's an absolute in the contract, fantastic. Then there's a need to just make sure that all the drivers say they're volunteers or sign something that says they're volunteering, so they dovetail into that. I had that concern, and you've alleviated that now. I appreciate that. I don't know if there's a need for a commercial driver's license to do people, but if there isn't, that's fine. I share Ms. Tillett's comments about Frank Brown, but maybe just putting somebody there watching while the cars are parked there.
There's an attendance schedule for
Okay,
there.
very good. It doesn't have to be a policeman, somebody with a radio or some communication device where the police can respond quickly if there is that. I think it might happen in any parking lot. It doesn't have to be just Frank Brown, you know. I like the idea of the bike trail. That makes good sense. And if you need a motion to approve that, I'd certainly support that. I don't know if you do. I think you're a manager. You can do what you want from a management standpoint. But you certainly have my support to do what needs to be done from a police standpoint to make sure that that's not a bike trail anymore for that period of time. I think, especially the liability area, you've alleviated my concerns there. So I'm very, very pleased with that. I support it.
Just the thing.
Is Mount Dora Senior High School and the Bible College still involved in what they were doing?
Yes, sir. We've got involvement from several different organizations, and we're reaching out to a couple others as of today.
And just to be aware that the golf carts, anybody else who wants to bring a golf cart on the city streets will be ticketed. These golf carts will be exempted by the police department for this coming weekend, and that'll be it. So because they don't meet the strict criteria, I understand, of our golf cart rules.
They don't.
So the police is making their exemption for the weekend, but it'll be for our golf carts only, and not anybody else's who feels they want to bring a golf cart on the road.
Let me tell you one story, if I can interrupt. I agree totally with that, Mayor. In the country club of Mount Dora, not within the last day or two, a husband and a wife were in a golf cart, and one of them was driving, and they turned the corner, and I think it was the spouse, one of the spouses, that just fell out of the cart because they took a sharp turn. Without seat belts, that's an issue, and I think training those drivers on all possible aspects is very important, because there are no seat belts. With the 9-passenger ones that we would eventually get, they'll have seat belts, I presume.
I heard that was you and Shirley on that golf cart.
Not guilty, but it could easily have been.
Don't remember.
Yeah, well, I hit my head when I fell. But at any rate, that's the biggest concern, is the care that you need to take, and it's a no-brainer, you know that, with those drivers and carts. They can tip over, the little kids can stick their feet out and hit some object on the side and break a leg, so really important. That's the only comment addition.
So, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say that on the parking issue, it's really near and dear to my heart, because I've spent so much time sitting downtown, and years before I was on council, and all I had to do was listen to music and watch cars. So I've watched, so I really feel invested in the parking, that wanting to do the right thing. So from a festival standpoint, this makes sense. We got to move people from far away into town, makes sense. But if you think about what our city is and what the aura and the branding of what our city is, I want us to really think hard about these golf carts, or the idea. And it's really important, I think, because, and you see that Lowe's, when you go there, the employees park behind the blue line, or that one line, wherever it is, and the guests get the nice spot, and Disney has that, and other places. And I am extremely concerned that the golf carts will be then what we let our guests drive. And we park them out in the side edge of town, and we cart them in. And I've been on golf carts, and it's raining, you gotta wait, and it's inconvenient. And I don't think that if you ask someone, would you, someone coming to visit, a visitor, our guest, would say, would you rather have a parking spot near downtown, whatever that might be, or would you rather 5 blocks away park, wait, not long, or maybe not, get on the cart, it rains sometimes, it's hot sometimes, cart over and get out. So everyone's intention is fine. I don't think, I'm not begrudging that. I just think that we have to be very tight on this, that the people who are in those carts are the people in the CRA that, the taxes are coming out of the CRA, so it should be for their benefit. But, it's the benefit of everybody, and the long-term viability of the cuteness and the wonderfulness of Mount Dora, I believe, will be destroyed when people go home saying, yeah, I went to Mount Dora and I had to ride in this. And I'm just gonna, think of it how they might say is, I had to sit around for 5 minutes, wait, get in a golf cart, and they dropped me off, and then I had to wait and get on, and it was inconvenient. Next time, let's go to pick another city. So it's just important that we do it in the right way, that our guests come first. So that would be my take on the cart, that it should be for moving employees and others to make spots close in. And I mean, on Saturday night, I was sitting on Donnelly between 4th and 5th, and I saw someone at 5:30 p.m. parked right there and was clearly dressed in attire for a restaurant, a waitstaff person. And so I know for 2 or 3 table turns, that spot was used by an employee. And as a CRA board, it's our job to really look at that. So I know I kind of ran along. I think everyone's light bulb, I think, should have agreed with what I thought, because I thought it was really, it's bothered me all day today. I couldn't figure out why I did. The carts bothered me, and I think that's why. But I'm not saying that they're not to do them. They might solve the problem. And then additionally, like you'd mentioned, all those other things, and I cried about it, the lighting, the sidewalks, and all these things, all that makes the great experience of visiting downtown.
I agree that we have an issue with people who work downtown taking up all the parking places downtown. And I see it too. I walk my dog there every morning. I see certain people, who shall remain nameless, but who park right in front of their business or store or whatever, and they're there all day long. And I don't think that's right. And so that was part of my push to get an implementation plan in black and white that would, if I were, Charles in charge, I'd have here's a lot for people who work downtown, and you get free range of this, and we're going to have I just lost my earring here. We will have adequate transportation to help you get down there. Not everybody can walk 4 or 5 blocks comfortably, and the shuttle will be running often enough so that if you need to get back to your car, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The other idea that I had for this would be to make it also, not just for visitors, but also for residents who can't, or who would be more likely to come downtown if they could have easier transportability, into the downtown. So, and I'm just going to pick an example. Say somebody who lives over in Sunnybrook, or at the lakes of Mount Dora, or in the country club's got to come down, drive across the highway, come around downtown. Suppose they say, hey, you know what, let's go downtown for lunch and to do some shopping. And they can park in one of the outer lot areas, say along Highland Street, and they know that the shuttle's going to come by every 10, 15 minutes or so and pick them up. That would, to me, be fabulous. You don't have to worry about parallel parking, especially with all the bump outs, which is a whole nother topic. But it makes the accessibility of the downtown more attractive to people who actually live here. The other thing that I think it does is it helps connect the downtown with the uptown. And we all know that transportation is an economic driver. If you have seamless transportation, easy transportation between the downtown and the uptown, I can see people, who may park in the Highland area, say, as an example, and they want to go downtown to the stores, and as they whiz past, husband goes, oh my gosh, they've got a brewery? you know, or wife or whatever, and, you know, and says, well, hey, let's go downtown and spend some money, and then let's go get a beer on the way home, or whatever. And I think that will help spur economic growth of the Highland area, which, and in between, the Midtown area, as well as just providing easier transportation in, you know, more economic development benefit to the downtown. It will benefit the uptown as well and help connect these two areas. So that's why I'm really in favor of this. I've seen this work in the city of Stewart. It works great down there. The residents love it. Their downtown has enjoyed more revitalization because people can come and go easily. The shuttles kind of act as a touristy type of, here's a little spiel on, you know, why we're glad you're here and what to see while you're here type of thing. And it provides some part-time employment to the people that they have driving the shuttle. So I think it's a win-win-win all the way around, and I'm really glad we're finally starting to do something, so.
Great, thank you. Again, this is, excuse me, it's a pilot program. Pilot is what it is, you know, it's defined as something new, something we don't want to get to, being in education. You guys are all aware that a lot of pilot programs go on in education, and some work, some don't. And you get into them and you evaluate them and you look at them to see what the pitfalls are and what your pluses are. And so with that, I want to I'm going to entertain a motion for approval of a new downtown shuttle pilot program with a budget amount not to exceed $10,000.
So moved.
Second.
Anybody from the public wish to address this issue? Seeing none? Anybody else have more comments? Ms. Johnson, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Creel?
Yes.
Ms. Tillett?
Yes.
Mr. Slavy?
Yes.
Mr. Rolfson?
Yes.
Mr. Roulette?
Yes.
Mayor Jerome?
Yes. Is there any other business for the CRA board? Seeing none, motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second. Well, we're done. Thank you very much.